Okay. Okay, I'm going to start a drawing here. I've done a composition quickly that is acceptable. I've used about 3/4 of the square, and I've placed 2 eggs, and I had a ribbon and some cloth, and I tried to make it an attractive composition. It didn't take me very long to figure out, and I used a red pencil to block everything in. And now I'm going to start trying to color it. It's challenging, but I think what I'll use is the blue pencil, and I'll start stroking in some of the shadows that I see very obviously on the side that's out of the light. You can't see the setup, and I'll show it to you later. And on this egg, which I actually drew facing in the wrong direction, but I can still work with it the way it is. And I'm even going to put in some of this shadow. Because it's going to be dark, and I may as well put it in. And just block it in so I start seeing some tone in my drawing. What I do and what I advise doing is working the whole surface of the drawing. So you don't stay in one place for very long. While you have a pencil in your hand, you go to other spots and you start putting in areas where you think you'll need that color to start covering the paper. So I know that it's going to be darker over here. I know that it's going to be darker over here. And so what I'm doing is I'm starting to block in some of the shadow areas, even though it may not look very dark because this pencil is kind of a medium blue. It's going to cool down the color mixtures. Okay? And this is really how you start something. It's also the way you do a painting. You try to distribute your tone over the whole surface so that you don't end up overworking. And now I'm coming back in with my red, and I'm putting in more tone. So I'm getting rid of the blue, and by adding the red, the blue is now getting darker, and it's almost looking kind of gray or maybe violet, which is fine. That's a good shadow color. I'm going right over what I just did, and it'll start to feel like it's in shadow. Remember, this is a sketch, so it's not going to be very polished, but the idea is to try to capture some feeling about white, a white surface. So we're working on these eggs. That's the main thing that I'm trying to get here, is these eggs. So I'm looking at the side of the eggs, and you could actually even work more close up than I am. I maybe made the eggs a little bit too small. They could be a little larger and less background. You could make them bigger. It's just that I thought it might be a more interesting drawing if there's more stuff going on in the drawing. But the main thing is that you want to really learn how to color white. What is white and what is shadow, and how do you do it? So basically, it's just going back and forth and adding tone where you see it. And leaving, you have to leave areas uncolored. If you get too heavy too early, it stops working. And then you come in with your yellow. Yellow always represents light. It's going to change the color. I'm not going to finish this because I don't want to make it into a very long video. The other videos are about 20 minutes long. I just want to get you started so you can sort of see how things are done. But the idea is to see how do you make something look like it's three-dimensional, and white. How do you create shadow? So what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing this a little bit early in the drawing, and maybe you would want to wait longer, but I'm just trying to show you how to do it. I came in under the edge of the egg, and I left this area light, and I came in and I darkened this edge, and now it really feels like it's sitting on the surface. And I came back in, but I don't color anything in. I have a light hand. I color some areas a little darker and heavier, and I leave other things. I always want to be able to come back in and darken things as I need to. I give myself control by not getting too heavy too early, because you really can't erase colored pencil. It's just not that forgiving. But we're starting to feel as if there's some light in this drawing, right? Okay. And I may not, as I said, I may not finish the whole thing, but I just want to show you how to get started and give you a chance so you can finish your drawing and get started doing your work. But I want to show you this so you get a sense. I'll put in some of the red background. It really needs to be in to give this more personality. It's a kind of magenta ribbon, which I may not be able to reproduce exactly because my pencils, I think, might be too red, just regular red, but that's okay. The main thing is to just get the contrasts and make it an attractive drawing. Now I'm coloring in some of the ribbon. And because the blue is underneath, it's creating some nice tone. It's already there. It's like I've compared it to watercolor because it creates these transparent layers, almost like glazing. And here, and then it's much darker in some areas. This is going to take a while to do, but it's the beginning of something. It looks kind of multicolored, doesn't it? Maybe it's too colorful right now. But you know what? You can always tone something down. If it gets too muddy and murky, it's very hard to brighten something up. So I would almost rather have it be a little bit too colorful, to tell you the truth. That's how I feel. Maybe that's because I love color, but I just feel that it's... And you don't have to be true to the actual color you see. That's not really the point. What you really have to be true to is the temperature of what you see. Like if something is cooler, you want to make it cool, or something is warm, you want to make it warm. But you may not be able to match the actual color of something. You may not have the right pigments to do that. That's not really the point. You just want to make sure you get those shadows cool enough and you get the light hot enough. That's important. This is going to take some time and some work. It's a little more complicated to do this ribbon than, let's say, a plain piece of paper would be if it was just sitting on top of some paper. But again, the main thing that I'm interested in for you to try is these eggs. That's what I really care about. So you're not doing ribbons, you're doing something simpler, I hope. Okay, and let me get some of this taken care of here. Just remember that the colors kind of stand for things. The blue stands for shadow, and the yellow stands for light. And the red is kind of the medium in between color. It's sort of both. It can handle both chores at different times. Okay? Okay. So it's, as I said, it's a little bit overly colorful. Needs to be toned down some. I have to come back in and work on it. Until I get what I want. But this is the way you start. Okay? This is a very fast study. I've been at it about 11 minutes, and it's just to give you an idea of how to do it. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop.